and everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Daily December 2019. This is day 12, and I haven't actually slept yet. So, despite the fact that it's the 13th, this is technically me catching up because it's the 12th in my brain until I actually sleep. So ha ha ha. Today, um, as you are probably aware, seeing as you clicked on this video and you've seen my channel name, uh, my name on the interwebs is Trainer Jody. Um, a lot of people apparently think that the trainer in my name actually has to do with Pokemon, because some of the random encounters you get are actually trainer this, and Pokemon trainers are called trainers. Um, it has nothing to do with Pokemon. In fact, the very first video I ever put up on this channel, it's still there if you want to look it up. I was much thinner then, and had no idea what I was doing. I was using really bad equipment. It's so sue me. But uh, I actually explain in there that it has nothing to do with Pokemon. I am a Pokemon fan, but the reason I call myself Trainer Jody is because I'm a trainer. That's what I used to do professionally. Even though I was in retail management and sales and all that, my specialty was training. I had the best trained staff in every store I worked in, and my training showed really good results, like award winning results. So, yeah, I enjoy training. It's a huge part of my life. At one point, I was actually offered the position as head of training for a charity that unfortunately got destroyed by the city planner because he wouldn't let us buy the building we needed. Refused to let us buy any real estate. It was hilarious. But anyway, that's what I do. It's something that I sincerely miss. Is doing training, and I actually recently had somebody ask, um, or rather, just inquire about my rates for vocal training or vocal coaching, which I've never done that specific kind of training, but I have done music training. I ran a couple of bands in my time, and I've done a lot of other training. So it's not something completely outside my wheelhouse. So today, I'd like to just try and do a little bit of vocal training. Now, to be blunt, the training I do, I generally need a trainee. I can do like informative videos, which you guys have seen a lot of, but I don't really consider that training as much as education. In my mind, the difference between like a trainer and a teacher is a teacher imports knowledge, and generally like presents knowledge, and it's kind of your job to absorb it. A trainer imports skills of some sort, and their entire job is to ensure that these skills are imported into this person in a way that they can use them in a specific function. Which again might be splitting hairs, but so generally I do this with someone else, but seeing as there's nobody here, and I have severe social anxiety, I'm just going to try and give you guys probably one of the most useful tips I've ever gotten as a vocalist. And that is, other than drink shit tons of water. But the best advice I've ever gotten as a vocalist is relax. Now that may seem really weird, and you've probably been told to relax in literally every aspect of your life. Relax, it's your first day, nothing's too bad. Relax, it's just, you haven't known him that long. I'm sure things will get better. Relax, if the relationship really isn't going that well, you both will benefit from a breakup. Relax, it's your first speeding ticket. Relax, it's your first time in court. Relax is a very common statement to hear. However, when we're talking about vocalization and singing, relaxing is absolutely necessary for a number of reasons. Probably the most important one being the way that we produce sound from our vocal cords is not nearly as simple as most people think. They think the sound just starts in your larynx and then comes out, and that's not how it works actually. It's a much more complicated process. What happens is air is passed over your vocal folds, which also the vocal cords. They're basically just these two muscles that sit in your larynx, and as you pass air over them, they vibrate. Very similar. If you've never done this, give it a try sometime. Take a blade of grass and put your thumbs together, knuckle to knuckle. You'll notice right here and here, there's just this little bit of space. And so what you want to do is put the grass right there and just blow through that little hole there. What will happen is, because the air is moving and the grass is pliable, it will move very, very fast, and it will make this kind of buzzing sound. It's really cool, and by controlling the amount of air you put through it, you can actually make it louder or softer, and it's a cool thing to do. That's basically, and I mean basically, very basically, they're much more complicated, but that's the very basic idea of how our vocal cords work. And the way they make different pitches and things like that is because they're muscles. They can, or rather, there's muscles around them. Those folds can actually be pulled taut or loosened. And anyone that's ever either played a stringed instrument or has just plucked one every so often knows if you tighten a string that's vibrating, it will raise the pitch, and if you loosen it, it will lower the pitch. And that's how our vocal cords work in a nutshell. That's how the pitch happens. However, to make sound, there's a lot more going on. There are all these open spaces in your body. Your lungs, obviously, because they're full of air, they're just empty other than air. There's spaces in your chest in general that act as echoing chambers. And what happens is they actually amplify your voice. And these echoing chambers are not just in your chest. Your mouth itself acts as an echoing chamber. The back of your throat acts as an echoing chamber. Your nose acts as an echoing chamber, and your sinuses, which I believe there's 6. I might be wrong. You have sinuses here. You have sinuses here. All of these things the sound will get into and will echo, which makes it not just louder, but gives a fuller sound. Now, you have muscles all over those areas. There's muscles all over your face. There are tons of muscles in your chest. There's muscles in your neck. There's muscles in your mouth. The reason that's important is the same reason it's important that when you're playing a guitar, when you pluck the string, you have to make sure nothing is touching the string. Because what happens is if you're playing a guitar and you don't push the string down enough, the fret won't actually make the string shorter. What'll happen is it'll just be your finger is resting on the string, and all the vibration in the string is going to get absorbed by your fingers, because your fingers are actually really good insulators. There's a lot of kind of mush in them with the fat and all that, and so what happens is your fingers will actually muffle the string, which sometimes you do that on purpose. And I'm not going to get into guitar theory right now. The same thing happens with your body, but in a slightly different way. The echo chambers, if you have tightness, what it does is it actually constricts these echo chambers. It'll constrict your airways. It'll constrict the passageways between the echo chambers, and it will prevent the sound from getting into them and coming back out. So the more you tense your muscles, the less echoey you can be, and your voice starts to sound thin. So generally, when that happens, we can hear our own voice actually a couple different ways. We can hear it audibly through our ears. We can also hear it through our bones, like the bones in our jaw, the bones in our ears, and that, because the echoing is coming from inside us. It actually, the vibrations, which is what sound is, will actually travel through the various membranes and bones and things like that. And so we can actually, even if we plug our ears, we can hear ourselves. And again, that's because of all the echoing. So what happens when you start tensing things, you actually stop the vibrations, and you also start to cut off the volume of it, the pitch, and we will naturally correct this by forcing more air and just applying more pressure to our vocal cords to try and make them just vibrate more, kind of like with that blade of grass. We just kind of blow harder and tense muscles, and what that does is it actually strains the muscles around here and can actually cause damage to your vocal cords, which is not what you want. And it's a very common thing to see with either untrained actors or poorly vocalists, or poorly trained vocalists. You see it in actors too. And you hear this sound just sounds a little bit weirder. Sometimes it'll sound kind of tinny. All that means is they're uh, uh, tensing muscles and forcing their larynx and vocal cords to do all the work of making this sound come out and projecting the sound, which is bad. The best thing you can do is relax every muscle. To give you an example, if I were to sing and everything would be very tense, it would come out like ha ha da 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 da. It just doesn't sound very good, does it? It sounds strained. You actually see, because I'm so used to not doing that, you see it in my face that I'm squinting and it's hard. But when I just relax, let all my muscles around there relax, and I go la da 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 da. Comes out much nicer. It actually comes out louder when I try less, and it sounds better. Even when I'm singing high, which is where you see a lot of people strain. And even then, I'm I'm not following my own advice, as you could see in my face. But I was still relaxing a lot more. That's how you're supposed to sing. That is how your body is designed to make noise. It's the entire purpose of your larynx and all these other things. They do work together. And so the more you try and fight it and force it to do what you think it's supposed to do, the worse your singing will get. Now, there's a lot more to having a good, clear tone than just relaxing. Things like you need to support your breath with your diaphragm, which is a whole different thing. I actually did an episode of Critting Your Role about supporting your breath. So that's a whole different thing. And then there's other things about mouth shape and lifting your soft palate. Like, there's a lot to singing. But something that will make your singing sound just incredibly better is relaxing. Now, one thing that makes it really easy to tell when you're not relaxing is when you start going to the edges of your range. A lot of people will visualize singing high notes as the note is very high. So you will actually watch people singing high notes either will do this, and they'll lift their jaw because they're trying to sing higher. They'll actually move their head forward a little bit instead of having it back and a nice. They'll push it forward and lift up. And what that does, it cuts off some of your air supply. It tenses all these muscles in here. You might be tensing the muscles in your jaw. It's really bad for you. So one of the things I learned to kind of combat that is, instead of reaching up here for high notes, visualize high notes as simply being further ahead of you instead of above you. So instead of reaching up for those super high notes, just imagine you're trying to get your sound further out. You don't want to do this either, because it's still cutting off your air supply compared to this. But if you visualize it as in front of you instead of above you, you feel less of a need to, and you can start just visualizing that and focusing on getting your voice to do what you want it to do instead of trying to force it to do something that you think it should be able to do. Everyone does have their own natural range, and that's biological. I have a naturally deep voice because my vocal cords are longer than most. Other people will have naturally high voices. That's just how it is. Does that mean like I have a bass voice? Does that mean I can't sing tenor? No, but in order to sing those really really high notes, or if you're a high singer and you want to learn low stuff, you need to work at it. You need to train. You need to be very very nice to your vocal cords because they're remarkably easy to damage. And if you do damage them, it's better now than it used to be. It used to be if you damaged your vocal cords and got something like nodules on them or something like that, your career was done because the surgery to fix that, I think at one point it had like a 50-50 chance of actually working. And even if it did work, your vocal cords were changed drastically. If you guys ever watched The Sound of Music, Julie Andrews was a brilliant soprano. She had the most amazing range, this beautiful crystal clear tone. She damaged her voice somehow. I can't remember how, but she had to have surgery, and the surgery destroyed her vocal cords. And she lost the vast majority of her singing ability to the point where she didn't sing after that until I think like the second Princess Diaries movie was the first time she had sang in public since the surgery. Nowadays, the techniques have gotten a lot better, and people like I believe Adele actually had nodules on her vocal cords, had them removed, and was able to return to touring. I think like within 6 months or something like that. And Adele has an amazing voice, incredible control. So it could have ruined her career, and it didn't. All that happens from pushing your vocal cords too hard in a way they're not supposed to. So if you want to be a good singer, the best thing in the world you can do, learn to relax. Relax your throat. Relax your face. Relax your chest. I'm not kidding. During voice lessons, one of the things I used to do was this. I used to like pet my throat to get it to relax. You want to let your natural tone out as much as possible. The more you try to alter it, the more you try to force it, the weaker it will become, and the less musical it will become. And you will also end up damaging your vocal cords. And once you learn to hear it, it's night and day. You can pick out someone that's straining their voice out of an entire choir. You can just go, you are straining your voice. Relax. So relax. Let your natural tone come out. For those of you that don't think you can sing, there are people that are literally tone deaf. They do not have the ability to recognize tone. The way you can tell if someone is actually tone deaf, which is remarkably rare, is when they try to change pitch. Instead of changing pitch, they get louder. They don't hear the tone, so the only way they can figure out to actually change what they're hearing is to make it louder or softer. That is tone deaf. If you don't do that, you are not tone deaf, and you can sing. Now, some people it's more natural than others, and some people are not going to be great singers without a lot of work. But everyone can sing unless you are tone deaf. And it's a really small percentage of the population that is. Everyone else that thinks, oh, I can't sing, I've got a tin ear, something like that, probably just means you've never learned to control that specific muscle group. and it is possible to learn. I will say that the older you are, the harder it is. This same with learning anything at a higher age. The younger you are, the easier it is for you to learn new information. But it's doable. So if you want to sing, you wish you could sing, start off by relaxing and just holding pitches. It doesn't have to be, singing songs or anything, just sitting there and going, la, 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 and that's getting a bit to my lower range because I'm not warmed up at all. Just sing a pitch. Doesn't have to even be in tune. I have the added benefit of having perfect pitch, so I know when I'm into tune. And it's kind of annoying a lot. But you don't have to be in tune. You don't have to be sound good. Just let a tone come out and hold it for. Do it for 2 seconds, and then 4, then 6. Once you get good at holding a note for like 4 to 6 seconds, start switching notes. Don't worry about hitting the right notes. Just hit notes. Learning how to hit the right notes and stuff will come with practice. But the ability to just sustain a note, that's the most difficult thing to learn at first, and to sustain a good tone. So just give it a shot. If you start feeling lightheaded, you're not breathing enough, or you're breathing too much. Take a break, sit down, take deep, slow breaths, come back to it in an hour. Just give it a shot. And by the way, for those of you wondering that it's called vibrato, if you're not aware of it. But when my voice kind of warbles, I'm not actually doing that. Vibrato is a natural aspect of singing because your vocal cords are vibrating. And because of that, when you let everything relax, your pitch will wobble ever so slightly. It's called vibrato. It's a good thing. And the more you tense and things like that, the less vibrato you will have. You can force vibrato. It's not a good idea. Your voice will naturally do that. Don't worry about trying to have vibrato or listening for vibrato. It will come naturally. It's not something you need to focus on. What you need to focus on is relaxing. When you are relaxed, the vibrato will just come naturally. Anyway, that's my little 30-minute lecture on singing. One of these days, I want to get back into training, and specifically, I want to try my hand at vocal coaching, because music is such a large portion of my life, and training is another part. But we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.